So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to this very, very interesting and contemporary topic and presentation. I'm pleased to welcome you, therefore, at the presentation entitled How to Conduct a Systematic Literature Review with AI Support by Dr. Przemek Tomczyk. I think I'm pronouncing that well. If not, I give my apologies. Our presenter, our presenter has a PhD in economics in management, the sciences at the Warsaw School of Economics. Currently, he's an assistant professor at the Department of Marketing at Kozminski University in Poland. And he's also a fellow of the EuroMed Academy under our distinguished fellowship program, and the chair of the Management Research Interest Group. If you visit our website, you will see under network several research interest groups that you may want to join. Of course, one of the most popular one is management, and Przemek is actually the chair of that, and I would like to thank him for that as well. He specializes in the role of artificial intelligence in systematic writing and science automation. He's the author of several scientific publications on the topic and teaches topics on how to write scientifically, ethically, which is very important, efficiently, which is equally important, and above all, effectively by using AI tools. This workshop offers a step-by-step walkthrough of the systematic literature review that we have all published papers by using the systematic literature review, but of course, by following the framework of Vrontis and Christofi in 2019, he's going to show us how we can do it more effectively, more efficiently by using AI tools at each of the stages of the systematic review. We invite you to explore how AI can transform the way we produce systematic, high-impact academic research. So thank you very much for your participation, and we do hope that you will find our workshop both interesting and useful. And I can only promise you that this will not be one of the few, but one of the many that will follow. Tomczyk, over to you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. And I welcome you all, and I'm very glad to be here. So today we've got about 2 hours to work some on how to use artificial intelligence in science writing. So the meeting will be split in 2 parts. So during the first, I'm going to show you some theory, some theoretical background, but it will be very, very concise, about 15 minutes. During this part, I will be showing you the short presentation with some basic theoretical assumptions, right? And after the part, we're going to start workshop, okay? So the workshop will be conducted with different artificial intelligence applications. And actually the meeting is, I would say, quite short because it's about 2 hours, right? So I will be doing many tasks quite I would say speedy, right? You can follow my steps, but you don't have to, because as professor said, the meeting is recording, right? It's recorded. So actually you can have a look when the meeting ends, and you can follow my steps easily, one by one, okay? So the point is not to follow my steps today, right now. The point is to have a look at the recording when the session ends, and follow my steps easily, right? That's the point. Okay, do you have any questions at the beginning? No breaks included. Okay, so let me start, please. I'm sharing my screen. Boom, and let's start with the presentation at the beginning. Of course, we're gonna send you the presentations when the meeting ends. We actually have got 2 things for you. So the presentation is the first, and the second is the poster with the procedure described detailedly, right? I think it will be very helpful for you to conduct this systematic literature review by yourself with artificial intelligence. Could you tell me, please, if you can see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so let's start. How to conduct a systematic literature review with AI support, right? And as Professor said, I'm a PhD in management. I defended myself in Warsaw School of Economics. Currently, I work at Kozminski University, Department of Marketing, so I'm a management consultant, actually, right? But actually, for past 2 years, I've been interested only in artificial intelligence in science, okay? So I don't do my research in marketing for now, right? Everything I do scientifically is connected with how to use AI to write faster, to write better, to write more efficiently, to write more ethically, right? I run a YouTube channel. It's Dr. Przemek Tomczyk AI. There are about 41 videos for now in this channel. Most of them are in Polish, unfortunately, but several are in English too, and I'm working on several next in English, right? So probably within next, I would say, several weeks, you can expect more videos in English, right? So I strongly recommend, if you like it, you can follow it, you can like it, you can share it, you can recommend it. Okay, as Professor said, I'm working scientifically on this issue, right? So I teach and I do my research on how to use AI in scientific research to make it ethically efficient, etc. And in 2024, with my colleagues, I published 5 articles regarding this topic. One of these articles I wrote with Professor Vrontis. That's the one. It's a systematic literature review on AI meets academia, right? I recommend it, of course, and I think I can send you the articles when the meeting ends. So finally, you will get 7 files from my side: the presentation, the poster, and 5 articles, which means 7. If after the meeting you will feel like very deeply interested in this topic, I recommend you some additional links to different YouTube channels, which I think could be helpful for you in your way of writing. Okay, I actually especially recommend the first one. It's Dr. Andy Stapleton, right? Dr. Andy is a bald guy with a long dark beard and glasses, right? Describing very naturally and very expressively the applications you can use to complete your research with AI. Okay, so Andy Stapleton. The second is qualitative researcher. It's, I would say, mostly devoted on qualitative research in management, right? Or in general social sciences. And the third is academic English now. The difference between the last and the first one is that the first of Andy's is, I would say, less detailed. Andy has been creating many short videos, while academic English now videos are longer, more extended, and more detailed. Okay? It's up to you which one you choose. There are several rules actually we need to follow thinking about using AI in research. So the first is objectivism. During today's meeting, I'm going to show you everything I know, right? It doesn't matter if it's ethical or not. I will be showing you different tools. We'll be showing you different methods, right? And you will decide which of these to use and which of these not to use, right? It's objectivism. It's objectivism. Second rule is connected with the first because it's ethics, right? Please remember that I'm showing you all the tasks I know. I'm showing you all the tools I know, okay? And it's up to you which one to choose based on some ethical rules. How do we understand ethics? Of course, we can discuss about axiology, I don't know, till evening, probably, right? Okay, it's a very broad topic. But actually, for today's workshop, we understand ethics in a very narrow way. What is ethical? Ethical is everything which is in line with publishers' requirement, and that's it. So, for example, when you start considering using AI for your systematic literature review or any other paper, right? And you are considering the outlet, so you are considering the journal to submit. So first thing you need to do is to go to the web page, is to find authors' guidelines and to check AI policy, right? AI policy. Let me show an example. Probably you all know Journal of Business Research, right? Journal of Business Research. Yeah? It's Elsevier's. I go to this page and I choose Guide for Authors. It's on the right. Okay, I'm clicking this. And on the left, there is the extended table of contents of what's inside, right? And one point is devoted on declaration of generative AI in science writing. So that's the point under which you can find ethical requirements Journal of Business Research is expecting, right? So if you click it, you can read detailing what is it about, right? And that's the rule I strongly recommend. Before you start writing, before you start collaborating with AI, first, please have a look at guides for authors. Please have a look what are the requirements of the particular journal you decided to submit to, right? Okay. Getting back to the presentation. The third rule is distance. Distance is to be, I would say, mentally independent of what AI is telling you. Let me give you an example. If you collaborate with ChatGPT, right, and you ask a question and ChatGPT is answering, you always check the answer properly, right? That means distance, yeah? So distance means to check, okay? Don't trust AI, okay? Please remember that AI can hallucinate. AI can overinterpret. AI can underinterpret, or can do anything which could be a problem for your scientific writing, okay? So the distance means to control the process. Please remember that you are in charge. You can feel like a manager of scientific writing process using different applications as digital employees, right? That's an important thing. If you imagine the process of systematic literature review preparation, you can identify several steps. I'm going to show you, right? And in each step, you can hire a digital employee in the form of AI application, and you can manage this application's work, right? So you can feel like a manager, and the manager is in charge. When you feel in charge, you need to keep a distance. Keeping distance means to control. So you should remember that, right? So objectivism, I will be teaching you everything I know. Ethics, you decide what to do based on author's guidelines. And distance, you always control the results. While reading the literature, I identified 3 general human-AI interaction models. The first is supportive, it's on the left. When you interact with AI in supportive way, it looks like you use Excel or SPSS or RStudio or any other classical software. For example, if you need to calculate anything, you copy-paste your data, for example, or you import your data to Excel, you put a formula, you press enter, you get the results, you copy the results, you use the results in your scientific article. That's it. It's supportive. So you ask, software is giving you the results, and the conversation ends, right? Okay. My recommendation is don't use AI in such way. Sometimes you probably use ChatGPT that way, right? So sometimes you probably use ChatGPT as you use Google. You want to know something, right? You Google it, writing a question, right? And Google suggests you different websites with the answers Google thinks are the best, right? Sometimes you expect the same from ChatGPT, but please remember, ChatGPT has not been created just to giving you the answers, right? It has been created to conversate with you, right? So you ask a question, ChatGPT is answering, you are giving a feedback, ChatGPT is answering once again, you are giving another feedback, ChatGPT is re-answering, etc., etc. So you are conversating, and the conversation stops when you feel satisfied with the answer, right? And that's called collaborative model, right? So you are in charge, you are the manager of the process, you control the results, AI helps you, but finally you decide what to use and what not to use, right? And the third model is partner-like. Believe or not, there are several applications in the market which can prepare the whole scientific article for you, I mean the review article, based on one prompt, okay? One of the examples is Thesis AI. Let me show you. Thesis AI, right? No, that's it. One prompt, 50 pages, right? So you can simply ask AI to write a review article on the relationship between customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, I don't know, in B2B market in Italy or in Greece, right? And it can prepare the whole article for you. What does it mean? This means that you have no control on the process of creation, right? So this means that you don't treat AI as a collaborator you can control, but you treat AI as a partner you fully trust, right? That's a mistake. That's a mistake. Don't do that. Don't do that, right? Because first of all, it's not in line with the rule of distance. And second of all, AI technique or AI technology is not that sophisticated for now to let you fully trust in it, right? Okay, so I recommend not to use supportive approach and not to use partner-like approach. Don't even try to do the whole article with one prompt. It doesn't matter whether you use Thesis AI or ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity. Simply don't do that, okay? The golden rule is to use collaborative approach. So you discuss, you control, you check. You are in charge. You control the results. Okay. Moving forward, as Professor said, my procedure is actually in 100% reflecting the procedure created by Professor Vrontis and Professor Christofi if you participated EuroMed's workshop, EuroMed conference within past years. You realize that Professor Vrontis or Dr. Christofi, they performed a workshop on how to conduct systematic literature review in 7 steps, okay? Actually, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm teaching how to go through those 7 steps with AI, right? That's how it works. What are the steps? You can find them here, right? So the first step is scoping analysis, yeah? So we read a lot to identify a research problem, the preliminary one. We read a lot to make the research field familiar, etc., etc. Yeah? So we read a lot to get some general knowledge about the field we are interested in, right? So the second is we formulate a research question based on what we read, right? The third is we put our research question into the context. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that you decided to study the relationship between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. Of course, I realize it's very obvious in marketing, okay? But it's a very simple example. But in this third step, you consider that, it's too simple. It's too obvious, right? I need to make it more sophisticated, right? So you put it into the context of B2B market or automotive market in Italy, for example, right? So the final question can sound like, is there a relationship between customer satisfaction, customer loyalty in B2B market in Italy or in automotive market in France, right? Something like that. Number 4, when your research question is done, you're about to start seeking the literature, right? So you're looking for the literature using Scopus, Web of Science, etc., and some AI applications I'm going to show, right? Point number 5, when you actually identified the main body of literature, you are selecting the most relevant articles. You are using different inclusion and exclusion criteria using AI, right? Number 6, when you finally got your database, including, let's say, 50 articles, right? You're about to start extracting data. And if you ever try to perform a systematic literature review at least once, you realize that this step actually is about to create a table in Excel, right? In the rows, you put the articles names, the authors, publishing dates, etc., etc. And in the columns, you put different parameters of the articles, right? And we usually do this manually. Okay? It's very time-consuming. Today, I will show you at least 2 applications which can do this for you automatically, right? And number 7, report preparation. If you got your research problem, you got your articles collected, you've got your data extracted, right? So you can finally start writing. And I'm going to show you an application which can help you in writing a draft of your final article. That's how it works, okay? 7 steps, according to Vrontis and Christofi. Each of these is with AI support. That's how it works. On the left, you can find the names of the tools, and you can easily identify which of these fits to particular phases of the systematic literature review. For example, the first is consensus, and you can easily find that it's helpful in the first stage, in the second, in the third, etc., right? And oppositely at the end is ChatDOC application, which actually can help you only in 7th stage, right? That's how it works. I think it's easy to read. I think it's understandable. And one more thing, because before we move on, it's the price. How much are they? Do we need to pay for them? And the answer is ambiguous. It depends, because most of these applications works in freemium model. This means that some parts, some research, some questions you can ask for free, but if you would like to collaborate with a particular tool for a longer period of time, you need to pay for it. That's very simple, okay? How much is it? Usually between $10 and $15 per month. $10 and $15 per month. And that's the poster. Of course, I'm going to send you the poster separately in a separate file. And this poster reflects those 7 steps in, I think, nice and interesting graphical form. It's in high quality, so you can even print it, you can use it, you can put it on your desk, you can do anything you want, right? Okay. Guys, if you have any questions, if you have any problems regarding how to use AI in scientific writing, don't hesitate to contact me, right? So the first address is my private. I strongly recommend you to use it. The second one is my university's. You can use it as well. So I think we can start practicing. Do you have any questions before we start? Let me have a look at chat. Okay, we've got one. Yes, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have sort of an overall question because I've tried using those things in literature review, and the fact that you have to pay is very important because there's no way you can do a whole literature review without paying in these tools.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you would recommend one of these for everything, because some of them even charge yearly, so you have to pay a lot to use them. So if you would recommend one for an overall job, which one would be best for you?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because if I recommend one, it actually should be Thesis AI. But Thesis AI is unethical because Thesis AI is not writing with you; it's writing for you, right? So there is no one application creating the whole article. Of course,
no, I'm not talking about creating the whole article. For example, you have you can use Elicit to have tables, extracting data and put them into tables. But then you can't use it for the report preparation.
So I usually recommend.
How do you manage that? I mean, from one thing to the other, change applications. It's not so easy.
I usually recommend two. I recommend SciSpace because, as you can see from my table, SciSpace you can use in many phases, right?
Okay, yeah, I haven't used that.
Second, it's very similar to Elicit, but better because actually it has greater limitations. So, for example, in Elicit, in free version of Elicit, you can create up to 2 columns for free. In SciSpace, you can create up to 5, right? So, in generally speaking, SciSpace is giving you more opportunities because it has more models, and actually, at the end of the day, it's cheaper than Elicit. So that's the first. The second is ChatDOC. ChatDOC is doing only one thing. ChatDOC is preparing a draft for us. Yeah, preparing notes, preparing a draft, right? So if you ask me for 1 or 2 applications, I would recommend these two, SciSpace and ChatDOC. Both of these applications I will be showing you today, right?
Okay.
So you can have a look and evaluate by yourself. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, any other questions? Yola.
Hi, thanks so much for this. I just have a quick question. I don't see anywhere there, maybe a ChatGPT. So would I assume that is not one to use?
Yeah, I recommend, as a rule, I recommend not to use ChatGPT because ChatGPT is not a dedicated application for scientific purposes. Today we'll be working only on dedicated applications, okay? Of course, for some reasons, in some cases, you can use ChatGPT, but please remember you need to prompt it very detailedly, and you need to remember that ChatGPT hallucinates. None of the dedication applications hallucinate. None. So that's the important difference, right? ChatGPT hallucinates, and you need to control it detailedly, and dedicated applications do not. Okay, so I think we can start. You're welcome. I think we can start collaborating with AI. So let's start with scoping analysis and consensus application. Okay, so go to your browsers, please, and simply type consensus.app. I'm copying the address and I'm pasting the address to the chat. You can simply use it and create an account if you don't have yet, right? Take 1 minute. It's the best way to sign up is to use Google account. So if you have a Google account, please sign up with your Google account. If you don't, type your name, your surname, your email address, and go through the verification process. Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute. In the meantime, I'm going to show you the poster. Okay, so that's the poster. Can you see that? So it includes those 7 points we went through quickly during the presentation, and the first point is scoping analysis. And we are in this phase right now, right? Okay. How to read this poster? Here's the name of the phase. Here's the number of the phase. Here is the idea of the phase. And below you can find several applications useful in this phase I recommend, right? So in scoping, for scoping analysis, you can use Epsilon, Elicit, SciSpace, or Consensus App. And during today's class, during today's workshop, we'll be using Consensus App. Of course, there is no physical room to show you all the applications today. I hope you understand. But these applications actually are very similar regarding customer experience. So if you know how to use one or two, it will be much easier for you to start working with another one, right? Okay, so consensus, 10 seconds, and we start collaborating. Consensus up. Katerina and others who asked me questions on chat, let me answer you the questions at the end. Within the last 15 minutes, I plan to run Q&A session, right? So I think there's the room for answering more extended written questions. Okay, so how to use consensus? Please remember the idea of scoping analysis. We need to read a lot. We need to read a lot of papers to get more familiar with the field we are interested in. So let's assume I'm interested in the relationship between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. So I can start with a question. Does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty? Yeah, so that's my question. That's my question. As I said, you don't have to follow my steps because it's being recorded, right? So I'm pressing enter and waiting for the results. By the way, all the applications from this table are don't require to install anything. So this means that they are web applications. You simply need to log in and start using. Okay, waiting for the results. Sometimes it takes some time, right? If no results appear, just refresh the page. Yeah, sometimes we need to be patient. Very patient sometimes. Okay, not that patient. So I'm going to close the tab and reopen the application, right? Consensus. oh, it doesn't work. Okay, let's give a chance. And once again, does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty? Boom. Yeah, it's becoming. Okay, perfect. If the application doesn't work, you can do two things, or even three. First, you refresh the page. Second, you reopen a tab. Third, you change your browser. Okay. How the results look like? If you ask a question on which you can simply answer yes or no, at the top of the page, you will probably see a graph. What is it about? The green part is telling you how many articles are saying yes on your question. Yeah. So my question is, does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty, right? And I can clearly see that 83% of the identified articles are saying yes on this question. Yes on this question, right? 6% are telling me the results are mixed. So sometimes yes, sometimes no. And 11% are telling me no. No, there is no relationship between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. One can ask, what's the basis of this conclusion, right? So consensus as other applications is looking for the articles in Semantic Scholar database. What is Semantic Scholar database, right? You probably know Scopus Web of Science. So Semantic Scholar is very similar to Scopus Web of Science. So it's a very, very huge metadata base of different scientific articles. But the difference between this one and Scopus or Web of Science is that Semantic Scholar is free of charge. So that's why different suppliers of different AI applications are using Semantic Scholar, because they probably don't have to pay for it, right? So that's how it works. So technically, Consensus Engine is getting to the Semantic Scholar database, looking for the articles based on abstracts. Please remember that, okay? You cannot find any full papers in Semantic Scholar database, right? So Consensus is reading the abstracts and deciding which articles are relevant, right? And if you have a look here, you will see that the results came from 18 relevant papers. You can ask yourself, what are relevant papers? The answer is very easy. We simply don't know. We don't know the mechanism of how Consensus is identifying relevant papers, okay? The general rule of how big large language models work is that it reads the abstracts and decides which of the abstracts are best fitted to your question, right? Of course, if you're familiar with marketing, right, you can realize that there are probably dozens of different articles on this relationship between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. So one could say, why only 18? Why only 18, right? Of course, 18 are the ones Consensus identified as most relevant. But if you scroll down, and if you find the list of the articles identified, you can find load more results at the end. And you can click it, yeah? And you can find more articles. You can keep scrolling and click load more results once again, and again, and again, and again, and again. So finally, you can get many articles on this topic, but Consensus decides to prepare a graph only based on 18. Only based on 18. So please remember the main limitation of applications like Consensus. they are not comprehensive. So if you are looking for literature in Scopus or in Web of Science, and you put a query, right, with keywords, theoretically, Scopus and Web of Science, let's say, will be able to find all the articles with those keywords, right? So the searching is comprehensive, right? You cannot find any AI application with such comprehensive searching. No. What does it mean? It actually results in 100% necessity of using Scopus on Web of Science. So in other words, you cannot omit, you cannot skip Scopus or Web of Science. These two applications are still the basis for a systematic literature review, right? And applications like Consensus or Elicit or SciSpace, you can use for searching for the additional literature. You can only use supplementarily, right? So you cannot base on Consensus itself to do your systematic literature review, right? Because it's not comprehensive. The results are not comprehensive. You can only use it as a supplementary tool, especially in this first phase, in scoping analysis, right? Okay, if we scroll down a bit, we can find several follow-ups. And below the follow-ups, there is a list of articles. And I think I can give you anything more. Let me move back. Let me go back to my question. Because I would like to show you something else. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. I realize I'm risking right now. But okay, it doesn't matter. Census up. Probably Consensus has a technical problem today. Okay, what I wanted to show you. If you ask a question, does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty? You can turn on, oops, sorry, too fast. Okay, once again. Does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty? Okay, and turn on this pro function. I forgot to do this for the first time. I turn it on, right? Try to turn it on. I don't pay for Consensus, and I probably overuse the limit, so I cannot do that. But please do it for yourself. Do this on your computers. Turn on this pro function. What it gives you. When the results appear, just below the graph, you can find an extended summary of the articles, right? The extended summary of the articles. I don't pay for Consensus because I don't think Consensus is worth paying, okay? Most of the interesting and efficient things, functionalities in Consensus, I have for free. Right? But there are limitations. For example, monthly, I can display a pro function. I mean the summary only 10 times, right? Okay. But you probably application error. That's great. Okay, once again. It happens when you use Consensus, unfortunately. But the pro is that Consensus is very easy to use because it's giving you a graph, it's giving you a summary, and it's giving you the list of the articles, right? In the meantime, while loading, some of you probably didn't get the graph. You can ask why, okay? When consensus does not recognize any abstracts answering directly a question, it will not show you the graph, right? So the graph is only when consensus is looking for the articles successfully. So when consensus finds the articles, right? That's how it works. Okay, yeah, got the results back. So if you go down, if you have a look at the articles, you can find the name of the article, and you can find a one-sentence answer on your question taken from the article, right? I don't have it because I have technical problems with consensus. Could you tell me, please, if you can see those answers? Can you see them? Below the title, you can see them. Perfect. So you are in a better situation than me, okay? I can't do anything with that, unfortunately. Okay. It's a very convenient way of quickly analysis of those papers, right? So you even don't have to get in. You don't even have to read the abstract. You simply see the answer, and you can very quickly identify if the article is beneficial, if it's useful for you or not. Of course, you can decide to get deeper, to read the abstract, for example. How to do that? Oh, yeah, it starts working. So that's the answer. Higher customer satisfaction in the banking sector leads to the increased customer loyalty. Okay, perfect. So I can say, yes, this article looks fine, right? It's labeled, yes. So this article is telling me that, yes, there is a relationship. I can dig deeper. I can click on the title. Boom. Waiting a bit. Oh, ready. Okay. On the left, you can find the link to the full text, if available, of course. On the right, or in the middle, you can upload your paper. So if you've got your PDF with this article, you can upload this PDF here, right? It helps with the analysis. And the third, you can go to Semantic Scholar webpage to check if the article is real, if consensus doesn't hallucinate. I can tell that consensus actually does not, right? But you can always check if the article really exists. That's how it works. Okay, let's move back. And let's save the base. So let's find some articles, save them, and export the database, right? How to do that? Below each article, you can find the flag, right? 1, 2, etc. By clicking the flag, you are saving the article. In the free version of Consensus, you can save up to 10. You can save up to 10, and you can export them. Then you can delete those saved articles, and you can upload another 10, and another, and another, and another. If you pay for Consensus, you can upload even 100, right? How much Consensus is? It costs $9 per month when you pay annually, or 12 when you pay monthly. 12 when you pay monthly. Okay, let me start running Consensus in a different browser because I'm still experiencing problem with that. Maybe it helps. I'm logging in with Google, as you can see, and I'm trying to re-ask the question. Does customer satisfaction impact customer and no? Maybe it's quicker here. Probably not. Still the same problems. Still the same problems. I'm afraid we cannot do anything with that. Its objective is independent, right? Yes, it happens. When you use a web application, it happens that it works slowly or even does not work. Okay, so that's the list. Let's save some articles. Okay, let's click a flag. Boom. When you click a flag and save the article, the flag becomes black, right? And when you save several and you go to the folder on the left, you can display the list of your articles saved. You can go to the lists, right? You click it and you go to my favorites. Here's your folder with all the articles saved, right? You can click it and you display the whole list of the articles. I changed the browser and now Consensus works a bit better, right? So it's a good method when you have technical problems. Okay, how to export the list of the articles? In the right upper corner, there's a down arrow, right? You click it and you choose CSV, boom. And the list is being downloaded. And you can open it, boom. That's it. But it doesn't look well, right? Because it's a text file opened with Excel. It's a CSV file, so we need to convert it to XLSX. How to do that? You put a cursor in A1 cell, then you go to data, right? Boom. And on the left, you choose an icon from text file CSV or from text. It depends on the Excel version you're currently using, right? So you click it. The window appears. You go to downloads here, downloads, and you find the file, and you simply click it and import, right? The menu is in Polish, but I think it's very clear for you, right? You probably all have the same or very similar Excel version, right? And this preview is showing you how the data will look like when the conversion process ends, right? They usually look fine. If they don't look fine, sorry, if they don't look fine, please have a look at, here, right? Here you choose comma instead of semicolon or a dot, right? Because CSV is comma separated value file. So you need to use comma as a separator, right? Comma, so we choose comma and we press load here, boom. And that's how it looked like, right? And the only thing we need to do is to save it as XLSX. So we go to File, we choose Save As, and we change the file type from CSV to XLSX, right? And we press Save. And we've got a database. In the first column, you can find titles, takeaways, so the answers on your question are in the second column, then the authors, years, citations, abstract, study type, etc., etc. Right? That's how consensus works. You can ask yourself, why is it better than Scopus or Web of Science or Google Scholar, right? Several reasons. First of all, you can ask questions in natural language. You don't have to know keywords. You don't have to put a sophisticated query, right? You simply ask with your natural language. You can paraphrase a question. So if you ask, for example, is there a relationship between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty, and you're not satisfied with this, you can paraphrase your question, right? I usually recommend to use ChatGPT for paraphrasing, right? Put your question to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to paraphrase your question 10 times and use the questions one by one in consensus, collecting more and more literature, right? And at the end, by displaying the graph, consensus actually is telling you if your research problem is worth to be studied, right? Of course, I realize that this research is not comprehensive. But if you've got, let's say, 95% yeses, 95% times 95% of yes. So this probably means that answering your research question is not innovative, because many people before already did it, right? That's how it works. Okay, this was consensus, okay, for the first part of our analysis, so scoping analysis. Of course, we can use other applications to get more articles. You can use SciSpace, Elicit, or Epsilon. I will show you SciSpace and Elicit, but a bit later, right? Point number 2, what to study. Reading the articles or reading the abstracts collected from consensus and analyzing the graphs, you can clearly identify if your research question is worth to be studied or not, right? Number 3, context analysis actually wraps up first 3 points, right? How to employ context analysis to your search in consensus. Okay, let me move back. And let me edit my query. Let me edit my question. I asked, does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty? Let me modify it a bit. Does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty in B2B market? In B2B market. So I'm contexting my research question, right? Loyalty. Okay, pressing enter. Waiting for the result. In the meantime, having a look at chat. Please also note that consensus delays when spelling mistakes are made at the questions, like missing the question mark, etc., etc. Yes, it makes differences. If you change even one word in research question, your answers will be a bit different. Yeah, that's true. You wrote impact wrong as well. Yeah, I realized that I made typos. Okay. Please note that consensus is not working properly also in Greece today. Unfortunately, we can do nothing about this. That's how it is. Okay, but usually works properly. Usually, not today. Okay. 10 searches per day in the free version of consensus. So that's a good remark. That's a good observation, because I thought that the limit is 10 searches per month. So per day, it doesn't mean that bad. Okay, that's good. I find Site to work very well. Site is a different application we're gonna go through today. And can you ask for dates? Yes, you can. You can filter the results. Boom. And you can choose different dates. And below you can choose different types of articles if you want to narrow your results. And you can choose different quality, right? For example, you can choose only Q1 journals or Q2 or Q1, Q2, and Q3, right? Okay. So please have a look at the results of my narrowed question. Does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty in B2B market? Now only 82% of the articles are saying yes, and 18 are saying no. So this means that probably this B2B market context gives me more innovative research opportunities, right? And when you scroll down, you can find the articles saying no. Oh yeah, this one. This article is saying no. Satisfaction does not influence customer loyalty in B2B companies, right? So if I feel I'm interested in these no articles, I can save them and I can base my research on these no articles, okay? It's like looking black swan, right? We are looking for something interesting, something unusual. Okay, good. So I think we can stop using consensus for now. We can thank consensus. Okay. Let's move on. Number 4. We are identifying literature here. And of course, we can use consensus for this purpose as possible, absolutely. But please remember the limitation that consensus is not giving you the comprehensive results. So that's the argument why to use Scopus and Web of Science, right? So they are the basis, Scopus and Web of Science. But instead of consensus, you can use 2 more applications to get even more literature, right? The first is Elicit. Yeah, so that's the one, Elicit. So let's go to Elicit. I hope it will work better than consensus today. So open a new tab and type Elicit. Boom. I'm copying you. I'm pasting you the email address, the web address. Open this web page, please. Register. Please spend 2 minutes on that, because Elicit requires to fill a questionnaire when you're signing up, right? So it takes more time. So 2 minutes to run consensus. In the meantime, if you have any short questions connected to consensus, don't hesitate to ask. Seems working. Okay, I'm waiting for you, and I'm controlling our time. It's 10 past 10, so you've got 50 minutes. Yeah, so we are on time. Okay, 30 seconds, guys.
there are some questions in the chat.
Yes, of course. Let's have a look. I saw you can upload PDFs in Consensus. Can it also connect to Zotero app? As far as I know, Consensus doesn't collaborate with Zotero. Elicit does. Elicit does, yeah. Result in additional work from me. Result in additional work from me if I cannot rely. Would using AI for SLS result? It's a very good question from Mauro. Remember the procedure. When you work on systematic literature review, you usually use Prisma procedure, right? So you simply collect articles, identify literature from Scopus, from Web of Science, and additionally at the end, you can add articles collected from other sources, from other applications, right? So for example, you report that you collected 50 articles from Scopus and Web of Science database, and additionally, you found 10 original articles from Elicit, Consensus, or SciSpace, yeah? That's how I do it, right? So I use it as a supplementary tool, not a basic one. Please let us know what you think about Claude. For some reasons, Claude is better than ChatGPT, right? Because actually Claude is more precise. It's better for text analysis, but it's worse, for example, for statistic analysis and for ideation. ChatGPT is quite good for ideation process. Okay. So Consensus is better to already have a very clear and defined question. What is the best prompt compared to others? Let's leave the more extended questions at the end, if you don't mind. Okay, so go to Elicit. Elicit works in a very similar way than Consensus. So simply paste the same question from Consensus to Elicit, right? So I'm copying my question, boom, and I'm pasting my question to Consensus, to Elicit, sorry. But before you click enter, please note to choose find papers, because in Elicit we've got several options. We've got research report and we've got systematic review. And don't be mistaken, treating systematic review option as a real systematic review. No, it works like Consensus option, but deeper. So you get more results, but still the searching procedure is not comprehensive, right? I'm not going to show you systematic review option from two reasons, because first of all, it's time consuming. It takes some time to perform it. And second of all, it's in Pro version. Pro version in Elicit costs $49 per month, right? Because in Elicit, we've got 4 versions. Basic, which is free of charge. We've got Plus for $12. That's the one I'm currently using. We've got Pro for $49, and we've got Team version for $79. Okay. So we type a question and we choose find papers and we press enter. Okay. And what we've got here, below the question, there is a short summary of top 8 papers, right? The papers you can find below are ordered by their relevancy. Okay, so top 8 gives you such summary you can find here, right? Below the summary, you can find the list of the papers taken from Semantic Scholar, because Consensus, Elicit, and SciSpace, 3 applications for literature searching, are using the same database. It's Semantic Scholar, right? It's Semantic Scholar. Okay. In the first column, you've got some basic data regarding the paper. You've got the title, you've got the authors, you've got citations. In the second column, there is abstract summary, right? Abstract summary is the same as takeaway in Consensus. So there is 1 sentence answer to your question, right? But in Elicit, you can do more. You can add new columns. On the right, you can find a list of the columns. When you click Show More, the list extends, and you can choose, for example, Main Findings, right? So you click Main Findings, and the new column appears. Okay, it's loading, but for now I can see you how this works. Main findings for the first article is telling you that service quality positively impacts customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction positively impacts customer loyalty, right? Makes sense. But please remember that in collaborative model, actually, I need to check the results. If the results are reliable, how to do that? I simply click the answer, boom, and Elicit is showing me the abstract of the article, highlighting the part based on which the answer came from, right? Here you can switch between the highlighted parts. So for this article, Elicit identified 3 parts considered important. So I can check, oops, sorry. I can choose the second and the third, right? So I can easily check if Elicit hallucinates or not. I can tell you that Elicit does not hallucinate, but sometimes overinterpret, right? So that's an important issue. For free version, you can create up to 2 columns, but when you pay $12 per month, you can create more. If you go to upper right corner and choose account setting, the pricing policy appears, and basic version is here, and plus is the one I'm currently using. Okay, and columns per table, 2 for free and 5 for $12. If you pay $49, which is quite expensive, you can get up to 20 columns, right? Okay. So let's get back to the results. Yeah. Moreover, you can create your own personalized columns. So let's imagine that you cannot find any column which is attractive for you. You can create yours. You type the name of the column here, for example, theories. Yeah. Let's imagine that I want to create a column and analyze theories used in particular articles, right? So I type theories and I press create a theories column. Boom. A small window with the instruction field appears. And I can detailedly instruct Elicit on what do I prefer in this column to be, right? For example, show me theories applied. Describe them briefly. And I'm pressing save. Waiting a bit because it's reading the abstracts. Okay. So for example, for the second article, social exchange theory appears. I click it to check if it's true. And yes, that's true. Drawing on the social exchange theory study provides a more profound perspective, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's correct. That's how it works. Let's have a look at chat. Do you have any questions regarding this? Also, at the beginning, you have mentioned using Scopus and the Web of Science for SLR. I was wondering whether EBSCO is also acceptable. Yes, because please remember that EBSCO is full text database, right? But it's widely used. I prefer to use Scopus and Web of Science because these two databases are more extended. So you can find more articles in these two databases compared, right? But you can also use EBSCO, but I would say as a supplementary source. I see we can upload. I answered this question yet. Okay. That was point number 4, literature identification, right? So I can use consensus and Elicit to identify literature, right? I can select the literature too, because while reading the abstracts and reading the main findings, I can take a decision which of these to use, to include, and which of these not to include. But point number 6 is absolutely amazing. I can upload my PDFs to Elicit, and I can perform such analysis for the full text I already have. So let's imagine that you used Scopus and Web of Science, you collected PDFs, you collected all the articles for your systematic literature review, and you don't have to create this Excel file with the data on these articles manually. You can do this in Elicit. How to do that? In the left upper corner, we go to library. Yeah, we go to library. Boom. Or I think we can do this even simpler. We go back to Elicit. And we simply click upload and extract. Upload and extract. Upload and extract. Right? Upload and extract. I check. Oh, sorry. I upload first, of course. There's a button for uploading papers, right? I click it. I can choose files, right? Let me choose, let's say, boom, boom, boom. This one. Yeah, I press next when ready, boom, and I press finish. And the PDF has been uploaded. Of course, I have many articles already uploaded here, so I can use some of them to show you how the analysis works. So I'm ticking the first, the second, and the third. Of course, I can tick all of them, but it will take time to analyze it, right? It's just an example to show you how this works. And I'm pressing the arrow. Boom. And these are my articles. And when I click main findings on the right, I can get the results from the whole PDFs. So I click it. And have a look, please. I click the answer to the first article, and Elicit is showing me the whole PDF. Can you see that? And I can switch between the highlighted phases. Boom. So this part was the basis for the answer, as well as this one, and this one, and that one, right? So I can easily compare the results with the original PDFs. That's how it works, right? Okay, that's point number 6, phase number 6, right? So as you realize, first 3 phases are combined together because they all regard research question preparation, right? Second 3, 4, 5, 6, they regard literature seeking, right? And we can use consensus and everything. But also there is a third application you can use in these 3 phases is SciSpace. SciSpace is very similar to Elicit, but it's cheaper. In other words, you can do more for free, or you can do more in Elicit for the same money than you paid for. You can do more in SciSpace for the same money you paid for Elicit. How it works. So let's go to SciSpace. Boom and boom. Okay. What does relevant paper mean? Yeah, perhaps similar to the topic I told about it, right? The algorithm is reading the abstracts and it decides by itself which of the abstracts fit best, right? Unfortunately, we cannot control this procedure, right? Because that's AI decides which of the abstracts fit best, right? There's a difference between AI applications and Scopus or Web of Science, because in Scopus and Web of Science, we are looking based on the keywords. So the searching engine's results are unambiguous, right? So when the keyword is present, the article is included. When the keyword is absent, the article is excluded, right? We actually don't know how the mechanism works in consensus or other AI applications, right? Okay. 1 minute. 1 minute to sign up to SciSpace, please. Okay, it's 10:30, so we've got 30 minutes. Okay, 10 seconds, more or less. When you're already in, simply copy-paste the same question as you used before in Consensus or Elicit, right? Yeah, that's the question. Choose high quality. Standard is, I would say, not good enough option. And deep review is similar to systematic review in Elicit. So it doesn't mean it's systematic anyway, right? It means that it receives more results, simply more results, and it works much longer, right? So we choose high quality and we press enter. Okay. The results look similarly to Elicit. At the beginning, there is a short summary, short but more extended than in Elicit, right? Below there is a list of articles with columns. So the first column is insights. Insights is telling you in more extended way than in Elicit or Consensus, what is the answer on your question, right? Yes, customer satisfaction significantly impacts customer loyalty in B2B market. Then we've got conclusions, limitations, and if you scroll right, you can find the list of the columns you can use, right? You can create new column as well, exactly in the same way as in Elicit. Of course, you can upload your articles, your PDFs to analyze them as well. To do so, you go to library on the left, boom. You click it, and you simply upload PDFs, right? Okay. And the analysis is done immediately after your PDFs has been uploaded, right? Let's have a look at this article I uploaded, right? It's the whole PDF. There is a research field, description, findings, etc. Of course, you can compare or you can check the reliability of the results in a similar way that in Elicit. At the end of each sentence, you can find a reference, right? So when you click the reference, a small window appears and you can locate the particular part of the article in the original PDF, right? Boom. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works, guys. SciSpace is better than consensus because it's cheaper. And the second reason is that in SciSpace, you can find many additional models. If you go left, let's get back to the main page. And if you go left, you can find many additionals. You can chat with your PDFs. You can write with your PDFs. You can find topics. You can paraphrase your text. You can generate citations. You can AI detect your text, right? I'm not going to use them right now. You can test them by yourself. It's very easy. But the last point today to perform is point number 7. So we've got the topic, we've got PDFs, we've got the Excel file with the analysis, because of course we can export the data from both SciSpace and Elicit, but unfortunately it's not possible for free. So to export the data to CSV file from Excel or SciSpace is possible when you pay for it, right? So you need to pay the version first, and then you can export the results. And that's important, right? And point number 7, we can start writing because we've got all the PDFs. We extracted data. We know what the PDFs are about, and we can start creating thematic analysis, right, for our systematic literature review. How to do that? There are many applications, among which I recommend ChatDOC, right? So this is the application I recommend you here, ChatDOC. Okay, I'm copying the link. Okay, somebody's unmuted. Could you mute yourself, please? Okay, I'm pasting the link. Go to ChatDOC, please register and take 2 minutes. In the meantime, I can answer more. Since in some AIs you can add your papers, is it worth using only the analysis of my imported papers to facilitate the categorization of only the information categories I want to analyze? The answer depends on the type of the paper you are working on. If you work on systematic literature review, you should include all the papers you collected in Scopus, Web of Science, Elicit, SciSpace, and Consensus, and then you decide which columns to generate. Your decision should be based on the topic of a systematic literature review. For example, if you describe theories, the articles used, you probably should concentrate on theories identification. If you concentrate on dimensions of the relationship between, for example, customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, you should concentrate on this, right? Okay. So 10 more seconds to log in to ChatDOC. Of course, you can choose try for free or get started. It's the same. And before we start, ChatDOC is not looking for anything. You cannot find any additional literature, but it's only for analyzing, only for writing based on your PDFs. The idea is that you upload your PDFs and you discuss with your PDFs. So let's imagine that ChatDOC is a kind of human being, knowing all the articles you need to know, right? And you can ask ChatDOC questions. And you ask a question, and ChatDOC is answering. You ask the question, ChatDOC is answering, etc., etc., etc. And based on these answers, you are preparing a draft of your thematic analysis, right? Okay, how it works. First, you upload your PDFs. So you go to New Collection, here, you click it, and you name the collection, right? Let's say EuroMed workshop with no spaces. EuroMed AI workshop. You press OK. And now you're in. You are you are inside the folder, and you can see a very sad cloud. You need to make it happy, right? How to make the cloud happy? By uploading the articles, of course, right? So we go to upload, and we choose the articles, right? Okay. When you upload the articles, you can start talking to them. I'm not going to upload anything right now because I've got a folder already prepared with the articles. Yeah, that's the one. On the left, you can find your articles uploaded, right? You can decide with which of the articles you prefer to talk to, right? You can tick only the first, which means that you will be talking only the first one. When you tick first two, you will be talking with them, etc., etc. I tick all of the articles. When I click the article, the preview of the PDF appears in the middle. And on the right, I can start talking with them here, right? Okay. But before I start discussing, I need to set two parameters. So first, I need to choose a language model. Please remember that none of these dedicated applications uses a dedicated language model. All of these applications use one of the most popular language model like Gemini or ChatGPT. In ChatDOC, you can choose between GPT-4o Mini, GPT-4o, DeepSeek, and Gemini, right? I propose Gemini 4o Mini because I think it's best for most questions, for most purposes, right? So we choose it, and second, we choose a language. Please remember that it doesn't matter in which language the original PDF has been written, right? So ChatDOC can read all the languages from this list, of course, but you can choose the language of the outcome. So for example, you can upload the PDFs in Greek, Italian, French, and English. However, the outcome will be in English, or in Polish, or in German, right? Okay, let's choose English as the outcome language, and let's prompt with the first question. So assuming that my systematic literature review is on the relationship between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty, I can start with definitions, right? What is customer satisfaction? What is customer loyalty? So I start with, what is customer satisfaction? Okay, pressing enter, waiting for the results. Yeah, it's answering me. So customer satisfaction is a key concept in marketing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, for example, Anderson states that customer satisfaction is used to measure a company's internal, etc., etc., and there is a reference, right? When I click the reference, ChatDOC will show me the original part this node was taken from. Can you see that? Anderson is here. Anderson is here. In my opinion, it's a very great tool to make notes. Just imagine. You can come up with a structure of your thematic analysis, right? and you can fill the structure with content, right? Using ChatDOC. You can start with definitions, then you can go to the relationships, then you can go through moderations, mediations, etc., 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 right? So you actually drafting with AI, drafting with AI. And based on these notes, you create your own prose, because you cannot simply copy paste this text, because it's ethically unacceptable. None of the publishers probably allows you to copy paste the text from AI to your article. But you can use it as a draft. You can use it as a basis for your own prose, for your own writing, okay? How am I doing this? I'm preparing a draft, let's say in 10 or 15 pages. So I'm copy-pasting the notes. I'm pasting them to Word, and I'm reading them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I read them as long as I can understand them, right? And after reading the notes, I'm clarifying the idea I want to share with the audience, right? Then I'm opening another Word file. And I'm start dictating. I'm turning on my phones. I'm start walking around my room, and I'm dictating. Based on the notes, I'm dictating. I'm creating my own prose, right? So the final work is mine. But ChatDOC helped me a lot to find important terms, to find important definitions, to find important relationships. That's how it could work. Of course, that's my idea. You don't have to follow it in 100%. You decide how to use it. I'm simply showing you the tools to help you to make your work more efficient, more effective, and ethical, right? You decide which of these to use and in which way, right? And guys, at the end, let me show you one more software. Let me have a look. It's 10. Okay, so it will be very quickly. It's Site Assistant. Site Assistant, right? Okay. You don't have to sign up. I'm asking the same question. Does customer satisfaction impact customer loyalty? In B2B market, right? And I'm pressing enter. The difference between Site and ChatDOC lies in the sources. While ChatDOC uses your PDFs, Site is looking for the literature in Semantic Scholar. So Site is writing a prose, but not based on your PDFs, but based on other articles it finds in Scholar, in Semantic Scholar, right? Another difference is that ChatDOC is making you notes, right? So the language is not as professional. You can use these notes to prepare your own prose, while Site is generating fully professional language, right? You can consider to use Site at the end of your writing process. When you read your article and you realize that there's something small missing in your article. For example, you missed one definition, right? You can ask Site to find the article with a definition and describe it for you, right? And that's how it is. And that's the end. Actually, it was very quick and very relatively short workshop, but its aim was to show you the tools you can use on different phases of systematic literature review, underlying that literature identification is well done when you start doing this with Scopus and Web of Science, and supplementing the results with artificial intelligence. So AI, I would say, is much better for data extraction, so point number 6, and writing, point number 7. For literature searching, artificial intelligence is not that good at Scopus, as Scopus or Web of Science, because it's not that comprehensive. Thank you very much, and we can start Q&A session. If you've got any questions, we can start answering them. Let's start with Yula. Maybe Katerina. Let's start with the end. Which of these three? Okay, maybe let's start at the beginning. Okay, I answered this one. If ChatDOC is using GPT-4o, how we can be sure it's not hallucinating? You can easily check it out, because ChatDOC is comparing the outcome, right, with the original part. So that's how we can check it. Of course, ChatDOC sometimes omits some important information. For example, if you got 50 papers and you know that customer satisfaction definitions is in 10 of them, from some reasons, ChatDOC is concentrating on 4 articles, not 10, just on 4. We don't know why, right? So the point is to know the content of the articles. I cannot imagine collaborating with AI without reading the articles. You need to read them before. You need to know the content to help ChatDOC to verify the quality of the outcome. You need to know the content to be a manager of this writing process, because only in that situation you can be fully responsible for the result. Okay, let's move on. It seems I missed what you said about copying and pasting. If ChatGPT is used to proofread a text, is it acceptable to copy paste to text proofread by ChatGPT? No. You use this text generated in this application as a draft. It's a draft, or you can treat them as notes, right? Of course, you can copy paste them to Word. There is a copying button, but you cannot spend it. You cannot submit it as your article, right? Because it's not yours. It's not yours. Vast majority of publishers and journals could reject it, right? So please remember that the original text, that the final text, your final manuscript, should be written by yourself, should be written by you. You should read it based on these notes, of course, right?
I think if I can make just a clarification here, and sorry to jump in, but I think the question was, if, for example, you have your own content, you've created your own content based on the assistance of AI, but now you have your own content in Word, and then you use an AI to check for, grammatical errors or to improve the flow, would that be not again be considered to be copy paste and AI generated?
It depends on the journal. Remember, Journal of Business Research I showed you at the beginning. In this section describing the rules of AI usage, you can find a short statement that generative AI and AI-assisted technologies should be only used in the writing process to improve the readability and language of the manuscript. So this means that you cannot copy-paste the AI-generated content, but you can improve your manually written content. Yeah.
Can I thank you very much, the last speaker who tried to interpret what I said, what I wrote.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, that is exactly what I meant. For example, let's assume I have written an abstract. I mean, I wrote everything single-handedly. And then that abstract, I want to check the grammatic quality, kind of. That is, to proofread, I paste it on ChatGPT just to proofread only. I wrote everything. I mean, because most of us, English is not our first language. Even if it's the first language, we still make some mistakes. And so that is exactly what I meant. I'm not. I didn't say that the entire text was generated by AI, but I generated the text. I wrote it, but I just want to say, okay, this paragraph, I want to check the, to proofread it, or an abstract or whatever. That is all. Is it acceptable?
It depends on the journal. Journal of Business Research accepts this. Okay.
Emerald, all Emerald also accepts it.
I do hope you understand what I mean.
You always should check it. You always should have a look at author's guidelines to find a section devoted to AI policy, right? And you simply should be in line with this remarks written there, right? And that's it. That's it. Okay, let's have a look at other questions. I'm assuming then all authors will get the same results about definition questions, for example, if they are writing on the same topic, hence cannot copy-paste. Yes, absolutely. If you use ChatDOC, for example, independently, and you upload the same articles, and you ask the same questions, but independently from different accounts, you will have a bit different results. Yes, the same thing regards consensus or Elicit. Working on different accounts, asking exactly the same question, you can get a bit different answers, a bit different articles, a bit different summary. Yeah. Which of the three, ChatDOC, ChatGPT, or Gemini, can possibly act as experienced reviewer of my draft? It's a very good question, and I can tell you that I like to use ChatGPT for reviewing my manuscripts. I haven't tried Gemini for this purpose, but I would say, fully satisfied with ChatGPT. I'm copy-pasting my manuscript, of course. Please remember that everything you put in the language model, it stays there, right? So if you don't have any personal data or any restricted data or any classified data, I think you can put in your manuscript, you can copy-paste your manuscript to ChatGPT, asking this model to review this for you. So for example, you can ask, add as a reviewer of, let's say, Journal of Business Research, and could you please underline blah, 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 right? So you can simply define what would you like ChatGPT to review, right? And under which angle. And I can tell you that the quality of ChatGPT reviews are at least satisfactory, for me personally. I'm still confused on what is accepted to be used from AI and what is not considered plagiarism or something that we do not own the copyrights.
Can I answer this question?
Do we produce drafts and then paraphrase? Let me try to answer to Demetra. Plagiarism, actually we've got two types of plagiarism. The classical plagiarism is when you copy-paste somebody's work, someone's other work, right? And the second type of plagiarism is AI plagiarism. So when you copy-paste the content directly taken from, for example, ChatDOC or ChatGPT, right? And some of the journals are checking both classical plagiarism and AI plagiarism. So that's why it's so important to check whether your final version of your manuscript does not include that many, I would say more than 20 or 30% of AI plagiarism. How to check it out? There are many applications to check AI plagiarism. I personally recommend Originality AI. Boom. It's paid. It costs $25 per month. Let me show you how it works. Originality. I'm pasting the link and I'm logging in. Professor, I hope there is not a problem to extend the workshop a bit, 10 or 15 minutes. It's not a problem for me.
No, it's okay. I mean, you can extend it. And I also want to share at the end, as an editor-in-chief of the EuroMed Journal of Business and associate editor in other Emerald journals, they have shared similar practices with us, what is accepted and what is not accepted. So I think it might be interesting to show at the end, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so let's copy paste a part taken from ChatDOC. Let's say this one. Okay, I'm copying this part and I'm pasting to Originality AI. I'm choosing AI check. We've got 3 models here, light, turbo, and multi-language. I'm choosing turbo and I'm pressing scan. %100% confidence that this text has been written by AI because it's fully artificial, right? And I strongly recommend when you finish your manuscript, simply upload the whole manuscript by using import button to Originality AI to check if it's how many % of AI usage probability is recognized, right? Okay. So let's move on. Okay. Any AI to assist with inclusion-exclusion criteria to formulate strings. To formulate strings and connected things like inclusion-exclusion criteria, I would try to use ChatGPT, but rather for query preparation than for inclusion-exclusion criteria. Because please remember that preparing a query for Scopus or Web of Science is a technical thing. Most important probably is to create keywords, right? Is to generate keywords. And I think ChatGPT could be helpful here. If you precisely define your research object, your research field, and your research question, and if you suggest to ChatGPT to which journal you would like to submit, I would rely on it a bit. I would ask ChatGPT to generate a list of keywords. Of course, you probably will not include all the keywords, but probably some of the keywords ChatGPT proposed are at least good enough to be included. How to make sure if I'm using AI and its family members, it is not considered as copy-paste or plagiarism. As I showed you, just by using AI detectors, there are many of them, but Originality AI is one of the best. I'm following up on the proofreading check if I'm using ChatGPT as final stage only for improving readability and language or English style, is there a possibility to copy paste the content directly? Otherwise, will be missed the proofreading prompt, isn't it? Is there a possibility to copy paste the content directly? I'm not sure actually what the question is about. Gabriela, can you explain it to me more detailedly, please?
Yes. Hi. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for today, by the way. Yeah, I was just trying to understand if I'm using as a prompt proofreading a text has final check at the end, for example, for improving fluidity of the English and so on, why I should not use what is elaborated by AI. Otherwise, I will miss the prompt itself of optimizing the proofreading of the text.
So
it's more clear.
You mean the proofreading in ChatGPT, right? The proofreading in ChatGPT.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the paper development, I'm let's say I'm that stage, not before on.
Okay. Let me get back to Journal of Business Research example. At the end of this note, there is a statement template which Elsevier requires from the authors, right? So according to the statement, you state that during the preparation of this work, you used, and you list the tools, in order to, and you list the reasons. So you can simply name ChatGPT as a tool for proofreading. So you can mention that you use ChatGPT for proofreading, right?
Okay.
And at the end, you declare that after using this tool, the authors reviewed and edited the content as needed to take fully responsible for the content, right? So the point is that it doesn't matter which tools did you use. The point is that you take full responsibility for the content at the end, right?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So let's move on. Do ChatDOC and Elicit help in analyzing and discussing the results of my interviewees or questionnaires? I can imagine that. Yeah, I can imagine that you upload a PDF to Elicit, generating columns with separated codes, etc. But actually, I wouldn't do that. Many times I use ChatGPT for qualitative analysis, right? ChatGPT is doing this analysis better. So if you have your interviews, you can save them as a doc file or PDF file. You can upload them to ChatGPT, and you can ask ChatGPT to perform the whole qualitative analysis, including coding, thematic analysis, interpretation, right? ChatGPT will generate a table for you. You can save in Excel with codes, with thems, with interpretations. And after all, you can interpret this table by yourself and describe this table, or you can ask ChatGPT to do this for you, right? Technically, it's possible, but please remember, it's restricted, okay? You can do this only if the journal's editor allows you to do that, right? And the next one, I think most journals will accept if a disclaimer is made. For example, use ChatGPT or Grammarly as a tool to assist. Yeah, fully agree. But please remember, I'm repeating this one more time. Just simply follow the instructions. If the journal asks you to make a statement, do that. If journal asks you not to use AI for drafting, don't do that. If journal asks you not to use AI for, I don't know, literature seeking, don't do that, okay? Simply follow the steps, simply follow the rules, Please remember that. It's a very simple ethics, really. If I got right with ChatDOC, you can check the thems one by one. Does it also work to upload all papers and ask it to generate the thems? Actually, in ChatDOC, you cannot do that, but you can do this in ChatGPT. You can do this in ChatGPT because ChatDOC has been trained to answer simple questions, right? So we assume that we have a structure, and you simply fill the structure with the content, right? So we can use ChatDOC for this. But sometimes I'm creating a structure like that. Remember the file from consensus? Here are the abstracts, right? Sometimes I'm copy-pasting the abstracts to ChatGPT. And I'm asking ChatGPT to identify, let's say, 10 main threads, right? Among those abstracts. And ChatGPT is suggesting me 10. I'm reading the threads, and I'm choosing, for example, 3, right? And then I'm working on the structure of those 3 threads by putting small titles of each paragraph. So for example, the first them is customer satisfaction understanding. I mean, customer satisfaction definitions or something like that. And I'm considering what to write about within this thread. So I can ask ChatGPT, of course, or I can consider by myself. So in the first paragraph, I would write about definitions. In the second paragraph, I would write about anything else. In the third paragraph, anything else, etc., 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 right? And then I can prompt ChatGPT with those names of the paragraphs, right? And that's the way of filling the structure with the content. So wrapping up, you can copy-paste the abstracts or takeaways to ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT to identify the threads. That's how you prepare the structure. Then you expand your structure with subpoints, with the paragraphs' names, and then you fill the paragraphs' names with the content using ChatDOC. Okay. What are the artificial intelligence tools for data analysis? I'm doing this in ChatGPT because ChatGPT uses Python's code, right? I usually upload Excel data to ChatGPT, asking to perform a regression model, for example, a correlation analysis. And ChatGPT is doing this for me, right? Running Python's code, okay? So empirical analysis, yes. ChatDOC, I would say, is good enough, but there is one application dedicated for statistical analysis. It's Julius. I'm not going to show you this today because we're actually out of time. You can try it by yourself. Yeah, it's Julius. And the last question. I use this prompt in chat. Check my text and suggest improvements for language, grammar, and readability, sentence by sentence. Give me your suggestions in a list in which you will write my original sentence, its page, number, and below. And this you will write the suggested changes to the sentence. So that ChatGPT finds an article omitted, or I omitted, or suggests a better word here and there. I guess this is similar to giving my text to a colleague to check. I fully agree. But please remember one thing. When you do so, and when you send your manuscript, and the editor of the journal will check it in Originality AI, right? It will increase your AI plagiarism level. Unfortunately, that's how it works, okay? How to omit the risk? how to omit the risk to be rejected because of AI. Getting back one more time to Journal of Business Research. Okay. They directly say, oops, sorry. Oh, I need to plug in. Would you give me a second, please? Because my battery is running out. Okay. Please have a look here. They directly write, they directly state that you can use AI to improve the readability and the language of your manuscript. So I would do this anyway. I would even have a look at AI plagiarism level, because I do this for readability correction, right? So even if AI plagiarism is 50% or 40%, actually it's because I use ChatGPT to improve my readability. So make a statement that you use AI, that you use ChatGPT to improve your readability, okay? So in that way, you excuse so high potential level of AI plagiarism. I think it's in line with this AI policy. That's my opinion. They allow you to do that, and you do this, right? Okay, guys. Okay, so that's the last question, okay? If you put the interview data into ChatGPT to let it analyze the content, categories, results, etc., don't you violate personal data rights? As I said, everything you put in to a language model, it stays in. So you should confirm twice whether you can share this data with anybody else. If they are personal data, don't do that. If they are restricted data, don't do that. If you claim an NDA, don't do that. Okay? It's your responsibility. Please remember that. Okay, thank you.
Thank
you very much.
First of all, thank you very much for the indeed very, very interesting presentation. It seems that AI tools are here to assist us, to help us, and not to replace us. So we should be extremely careful on how we use them. And of course, as you very well said, we need to check with the journals, because different journals have different policies. I will share what was sent to me as editor-in-chief of the EuroMed Journal of Business from Emerald, which applies to all Emerald journals. So the key principle is that copywriting any part of an article is not permitted. That's including the generation of an abstract or the literature review and so on. What's accepted is the copy editing. So copy editing an article using a generative AI tool in order to improve the language and the readability would be permissible, as this Mirror Standards tool already improved to improve spelling and grammar. It's like sending it to a proofreader. And at the end, they give us a very interesting table, which looks like this. For example, here, abstract creation, it's an X. Abstract copy editing, it's a yes. Hypothesis creation and introduction creation is not allowed. Introduction copy editing and methodology ideation, it explains here what it means is it's allowed. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say here is that different journals have different policies. And of course, before submitting an article to a journal, it's very, very important that we check their policies. Some other journals are asking you to specify what you have used, and then it's fine. So we need to be, of course, in a position to be, of course, safe than sorry. So as a conclusion, and before leaving you, of course, I would like to thank Dr. Tomczyk for his indeed very interesting presentation, very stimulating, of course, very, very topical and contemporary. I mean, everybody now wants to find out more on how we use AI tools for the benefit of our research, to improve it, to make it quicker, and so on and so forth. We will continue with several other workshops. If you go here, let me show you in the website, there is join our newsletter. If you are not in already, you can just type your email and you will be informed about any events, any workshops that will be included here. So here we have this first, this specific workshop. We will redesign it and add the video here as well in the next few days. So one more time, I think it was a crowded online session with over 120 people joining this workshop. I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining this workshop. I do hope that you found it interesting, and thank you very, very much. It was great seeing you again. As I said, so many different and as well as new names and faces that we know. We also would like to inform you, as most of you know, about our conference taking place in Portugal in September. I saw the conference chair was somewhere here before, so Tomczyk is going to be there to exchange views if you want, as well as most of us. And I wish you all the best for this starting new week, and my best wishes. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed for your research studies. Thank you.
Thank you.